To know is number 17. On your diagram, number 17 is called the needle clamp. And the needle clamp, if you can just put your finger on it, do not turn it, just put your finger on it so I know that you know where it is. The needle clamp is the little black knob that sort of sticks out here. Okay, this is your needle clamp. If you break a needle, this is what I use to take your needle in and out. Also, if your needle's a little bit wiggly, you can tighten this by turning it towards the back of the machine, and the needle should be tight in your machine. So this is number 17, needle clamp. All right, drawing your eyes down to the bottom of the machine here, there's a silver piece here, and in between the cracks of the silver piece, you're going to see a part that's kind of rough. You can run your finger under it because your machine's not on. Do you feel that roughness right under there? That piece is called the feed dogs. So if you turn your hand wheel, some of you can't find it, and that's because your feed dogs are down. Turn your hand wheel towards you and look underneath your machine here, and you're going to see, don't keep your finger under there though, right, because your needle's going up and down. You're going to see the feed dogs move back and forth, the little silver pieces that are bumpy. Do you see them coming up and down? The feed dogs are what pull your fabric through the machine. So you don't need to push or pull. The machine does that for you. On your diagram, there is no feed dog section. I want you just to add a line from your diagram and then write feed dogs. So you just add your own line. Yes, feed dogs. Like you're going to go and feed your dog. Feed dog. Kind of a funny name. The next thing that I want you to note is right on the side of your machine here, and this little silver thing is for cutting thread. So often, if you are stitching and you finish and you're like, oh, I don't have scissors around, I need to snip my thread. If you put thread behind the thread cutter, like so, okay, you hold it up, you put it behind there, and you pull it, and it will actually cut your thread for you. And I'll show you that again when we are using thread on the machine. So the thread cutter is number 12 on your diagram. Thread cutter, number 12. The next important piece that you need to know is your presser foot, and your presser foot is the little piece at the bottom that sort of wiggles up and down just gently if you touch it, and the little foot here is what holds down your fabric while you are sewing. So with your right hand, you're going to reach in between your machine, and don't touch anything yet. There's a little, just hold it, there's a little knob in the back. Are you holding the white knob in the back? Don't let it go, just hold it. Now, I want everybody together to lower it carefully. Don't drop it, lower it carefully. Keep holding it. If I hear a clunk like this, you have dropped it. And that's really, really hard on the feed dogs. So when you are raising and lowering the presser foot, let's lift it back up all the way to the top. Take your hand away. Okay, we're going to do this all together, and I don't want to hear anybody clunk it down. So we're going to lower it carefully as a group. So put your hand back on the lever. Good. Now we're going to lower the presser foot lever on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, and down it goes. So nice and quiet, okay? So make sure you put it down quietly all the time. Let's lift it back up to the top. So number 13 on your diagram is presser foot. Number 13, presser foot. And number 18 is the presser foot lever. right, if you look down here, remember when I was talking about this silver piece at the bottom here, the big silver square? This is called your needle plate. You will use your needle plate to help you stitch a straight line, okay? Because you see the numbers. Do you see the numbers there? 5/8, 1/2, etc. Those are the numbers that you will use on your needle plate to follow with your fabric. So number 27 on your diagram is needle plate. All right, going back to some of our dials, if you look at the front of the machine, right here, your machine should say the letter E. Okay, if it doesn't say the letter E, then you're not doing a straight stitch. So for you guys in grade 8, you will only use the letter E. E will do a straight stitch and it will do a zigzag on this machine. So this is your pattern selector dial. If you go back to your sheet, pattern selector dial is number 22 on your diagram. And if you look on the door of your machine, these are all the different fancy stitches that the machine will do. Yes, number 22 is pattern selector dial. Pattern selector dial. And if you jump back up here to the top, there's 2 more dials at the top of your machine. The one here that has, should be right now at your machine, it should be set at 0. If you lower your presser foot with your presser foot lever, quietly, if you lower your presser foot with your presser foot lever quietly, please follow along and do so. Thank you. Then up here, if you can change it from 0 all the way to 5. What is happening as you're changing this from 0 to 5? Lizzie?
The needle moves.
Good, the needle moves back and forth. So you guys will do in this class a straight stitch and a zigzag. And when you do your zigzag stitch, I will tell you to change your stitch width dial from 0 to 5. So on your diagram, number 25 is called the stitch width dial. Right beside the stitch width dial, number 25, number 25, yep, stitch width dial. It might be cut out by the hole punch, just add it on there. Width, yep, width, W-I-D-T-H, width. It's kind of a funny word to say. So right beside the stitch width dial is your needle position dial. And take a moment, I want you to turn your needle position dial over to one side. Just kind of turn it. What happens as you're turning it? What's happening, Jaya, as you turn your stitch, or as you turn your needle position dial? Good, your needle is going to move back and forth. So I want you to now stop with your needle position dial in the center. So that's the middle option. And on your sheet, I want you to write number 26, needle position dial. Jumping back down below here, there's a dial at the bottom here, and it should be set at about 2.5. If you turn this dial, this is your stitch width dial. What is the largest number that you can turn the stitch width dial to, Vanessa? 6, good. I want everyone to turn it back now to 2.5. In this class, you do not need to ever touch the stitch width dial in grade 8, okay? And if you come back in grade 9, then we do different widths of stitches, different lengths of stitches. Did I call that the stitch length dial?
Yeah.
Good, it's supposed to be the stitch length dial, not the stitch width dial, sorry. Stitch width dial is at the top, stitch length dial is at the bottom. So on your diagram, number 20 is stitch length. Number 20. So sometimes you want a really long stitch, sometimes you want a shorter, tighter stitch, depending on what you're sewing. The other dial that's just above the stitch length dial, you will use this all the time. So just put your finger on it and hold it all the way down. Holding this button all the way down will make your machine sew backwards. So when I tell you to reverse stitch, you'll hold this button all the way down until you want to stop reversing, and then you'll release it, and then your machine will go forward again. On your diagram, number 19 is the reverse button. All right, the last thing, and probably the most important thing that you need to know where this function is, before we test this function, what I want you to do is I want you to make sure both of your feet are flat on the ground and not touching the foot pedal on the ground. Okay, once your feet are flat on the ground and not touching your foot pedal, okay, at this point nobody is going to touch their foot pedal. I want you to look on the side of your machine here, and the button on your side of your machine, push it in, and don't do anything else. If you get a light when you push that in, then that means your machine has power, and it is going to work when you go to sew on it. If your machine light does not come on, 2 reasons. A, the bulb might be burnt out, okay, it's just like a bulb, you know, in the ceiling, right, they burn out. The other reason, you might want to check to make sure that your machine is well plugged in the back and well plugged in into the wall. If you have a loose connection anywhere, this will not work. Josh, that machine I think has a burnt out light. Now, if it has a burnt out light, don't fear, okay, your machine will still work. It's just a little harder to see. So I want now everyone to please shut off their machine. And number 2, write down power switch. Number 2, power switch. All right, to conclude this lesson, I just want to make sure that we have covered off each of the steps. Now, I'm not covering off all of them, okay? I'm just covering off the most important ones. So I'm going to go through the numbers that you should have written down. So number 2 was power switch. Number 3 was stop motion knob. Number 4, hand wheel. Number 5, bobbin winder. 7, spool pin. 8, spool stopper or spool holder. 9, take up lever. An extra addition was the feed dogs with no number attached. Number 12 was thread cutter. 13, presser foot. 17, needle clamp. 18, presser foot lever. 19, reverse button. 20, stitch length dial. 22, pattern selector dial. 25, stitch width dial. 26, needle position dial. And 27, needle plate. So those are the parts of the machine that you will need to know in Textiles 8.